Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Katie, and today I'm doing my October reading wrap-up. So yes, I'm wearing, well, it looks really pink on camera, but it's more of like a fuchsia color. It's not fall colored, but I love this new shirt of mine, so I wore it. Anyways, so I'm so excited, but I hope that I can remember the books that I read, because if I'm being honest, I had my wisdom teeth out. I had a bunch of other stuff happening in October that it would just happen to be a lot. So I have my mom's phone actually, because also my printer ran out of ink, so I have to go onto my Goodreads. So these won't be in any order. I usually put them in order of like star rating. I put my Christian fiction separated from middle grade and mainstream fiction. It's not this time, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll work with what we have, and it'll still be fun, and you'll get book recommendations and books that maybe you don't want to read, but it'll be fun. All right, so I'm going to go to my read books. Hey guys, editing Katie here because I forgot to share my end of the month Journey Through the Bible Readathon wrap up. I forgot my own Readathon wrap up because I forgot my journal downstairs. So here we are again. So I can share with you how I did in my own Readathon because I forgot. All right, so did I complete it? No, but I came so close. So close. If I did not do all Christian fiction, I think I could have, because I think I read a couple of mainstream fiction that would have fit in these prompts. So technically, if you want to count it that way, then I did complete it probably. But I came close. I came this close. I missed 2 prompts. Just 2. And they were easy to fulfill too. If I was able to complete that Dragon series by Brian Davis, I would have been golden and I would have been able to complete it. But that's okay. I told you guys, as long as you finish one book, you're totally fine with that. As long as you participated, that's awesome. And thank you all for having so much fun with me. So I'm just going to share really quick what books I read for each prompt. So yeah, we'll just be really quick here. Okay, so where are you going? I finished all 4 prompts. So for Egypt, a book with a hot setting, I read Pearl in the Sand by Tessa Afshar. For Nineveh, a second chance romance, I read Labyrinth of Lies by Irene Hannon. For Babylon, recent purchase, I read The Bride of Ivy Green by Julie Clausen. I guess that was like a recent audiobook that I got at the library because I've owned my copy for a while. And then Jordan River, Character That Moves to a New Place, I read Raising Dragons by Brian Davis. And then Who Are You Going to Meet? I completed all those. Yay. So for Mary, listen to an audiobook, I read Collusion of Lies by Tom Threadgill. Martha, a book with a party or holiday, I read The Ladies of Ivy Cottage by Julie Clausen. For Moses, Dual Timeline, I read The Lost Boys of Barlow Theater by Jamie Jo Wright. For King David, Character That Plays an Instrument, I read To Have and to Hold by Betsy St. Amma, Becky Wade, and Katie Ganshert. It's a novella collection. Technically, nobody plays an instrument in the book, but they do mention music as part of the wedding and they're dancing and stuff. I said as long as it included music, I'm fine with it. So I did that. And then for Rebecca, Jewelry on the Cover, I read A Gilded Lady by Elizabeth Camden. For Jacob and Esau, Enemies to More, I read An Ivy Hill Christmas by Julie Clausen. And then for Samson, Character That Has Long Hair, I read Stay With Me by Becky Wade. And then for Witness an Event, I only missed 2. I missed Parting of the Red Sea, a book that lays flat, and Plagues of Egypt, book that's part of a series. I missed those. But I did Jesus is Baptized, Light on the Cover. I read Where We Belong by Lynn Austin. For Sermon on the Mount, read a book of the Bible, I read Obadiah because it was short. It was only 1 chapter. I wanted to get done Exodus. I did not. I'm halfway through, I think. But yeah, I tried. Didn't happen. That's okay. But I did read one. I just read the shortest one in the Bible, probably, I think. For the 10 Commandments, a gifted book, I read Let It Be Me by Becky Wade. The Last Supper, Food or Drink on the Cover, I read He Should Have Told the Bees by Amanda Cox. And then for Handwriting on the Wall, read a book and write a review, I did Body of Evidence by Irene Hannon. And then for Something Has Happened, I finished all those. So for those, Tempted to Eat the Forbidden Fruit, a villainous character in a book, I read Candlestone by Brian Davis. Fight a Giant, read a book over 400 pages. I read As Sure as the Dawn by Francine Rivers. For Frogs in the House, hop to it. Read a book that has been on your TBR a while. I read The Princess and Curdie by George MacDonald. And then the last one, Exiled, indie published, I read All the More by Tony Shiloh. And then How Do You Escape? Pray and Jesus Will Help You. Reader's Choice, I read Turn to Me by Becky Wade. So, yay! And I did a vlog for this, which was so much fun. So I completed that. Okay, so back to the original video. So these actually will be in order of what I read them in. So that's good, hopefully. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about actually both of them at the same time, since I did finish a bunch of series in October, which I'm really happy about. So I did finish Labyrinth of Lies and Body of Evidence by Irene Hannon. These are book 2 and 3 in her Triple Threat series. So I ended up giving the second book, which was Labyrinth of Lies, 3.5 stars, and then the third book, 4 stars. So overall, it's a pretty good series. Definitely a mix of interesting storylines. I think each book follows a different character. I know the first book in this series we read with my Christian book club group, and I kind of liked it. I know everybody else kind of didn't, because one of the points of views was the killer, and I don't know, I personally enjoy that because I kind of like to see what's happening in the backgrounds, what's going on in the characters' minds, but I know a lot of people don't. So I think I ended up giving the first one 4 stars, I think. Actually, I can go see what I rated it. I think it was 4 stars, but so I decided to continue the series and go on and finish it. I actually gave it 3 stars because it wasn't that great. But yes, so the third book was the one that I liked the most, but we're following a few different characters in like the FBI agent field. We're following, I think there's also, there's a lot of characters. So I don't really remember book 1. I know it had to do more with like, kind of like a family drama a little bit, or husband and wife drama. So that one I didn't like as much because I'm not really a huge fan of drama stories unless it's done really, really well. The second book, we followed 2 teens who go missing. We don't follow them because we never see them in the book. But a cop and an FBI agent both go undercover at this school where they're supposed to be, and technically they don't know that the other one is there to kind of solve a case. It's like 2 different cases, but they end up connecting. But they end up finding each other, and they both knew each other from the past. So he's like, uh-oh, because he can't know her identity. She can't know his identity. So they kind of go in. They can't, like, you know, they have feelings for each other. It's kind of like a second chance romance with the 2 of them. So we're following both of them as they're trying to solve the case. And it was pretty good. As I said, I gave that one 3.5. So a little bit better than the first book. And then the third book. So the third book was my favorite. It was 4 stars, and I really enjoyed this one. So this is about she's a forensic pathologist, and she's discovering these unusual deaths that are happening with elderly people in the area, and she's wondering, there has to be some connection. What's going on? Like, this just doesn't happen. There's one similarity, which I'm not going to tell, amongst the people and the bodies, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, what's happening in her town. And it was very entertaining. I think I did end up guessing who did it, but I was still surprised to figure out I was actually right. So I was very happy about that. I kind of like half guessed who it was, and then I was happy to find out that I was right. So did enjoy that one. Okay, the next one that I read was, I'm so sad, and I'm so sorry if you love this book, but I ended up reading the sequel to, what was it called? The Princess and the Goblin, which is The Princess and Gertie. Now, I did like The Princess and the Goblin. I ended up giving it 4 stars. But I did not like The Princess and Gertie. I ended up giving it a 1 star. I did not like it. I can't even honestly tell you pretty much anything about it. I know that we see supposedly the princess's grandmother. We see her again. She's like supposed to be some kind of fairy, I think, or something like that, to help the main character along. And I could not pay attention to the audiobook this past month, honestly. So we're following Gertie, I know, in the second book, and we're following kind of his adventures. We never see anything of the princess. I don't even think we see her at all. Maybe at the end of the book we do. But yeah, so it's all about, pretty much about Gertie and Gertie's adventures. And I don't know, I could not get into it. I can't remember anything about it. I didn't enjoy it, unfortunately. I wish I did, because the first book was pretty good. Second book, 1 star. I just didn't like it. So that's sad. It will probably be on my least favorite of the year, unfortunately, but it's okay. It happens. So I ended up reading my first Tom Threadgill book called Collusion of Lies. I did read it. I did enjoy it. I think I gave it not as high a rating as I thought it was going to be. I gave it 3 stars. It was pretty good. We're following where there's this old mystery, well, not an old mystery, but an old accident that happened years ago, where this accident with a busload of kids ends up in an accident and the kids are all killed, unfortunately. And so we're following it years later, where this girl, who I believe she is a police detective, but something happens where one of the kids may still be alive. And so they're trying to figure out what really happened back then, what happened with the busload of kids, what happened with the bus driver that was driving and stuff. So we're following that. I didn't like it, but at times I honestly lost track of the mystery. I just felt like it was, I don't know, like, you know, those mysteries where like you get it, you're going with it, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, like, you're just kind of confused because you thought you missed something. That's kind of how I felt in this book as I was listening to the audiobook. I just kind of felt disconnected from the story, and it was okay, but I don't really remember too much about it right now. So, but I do want to read the second book and see if I like that one. And I do have that book too, actually, as well. I also forgot to mention that I did read a bunch of Archie comics. I think I probably read like at least 5 last month, plus the new Big Nate book, which was fun. I do love Big Nate, so I ended up getting a copy from NetGalley, so thank you, NetGalley, for that. I did end up giving that 5 stars because I do love the Big Nate series. I've read them all. Yeah, I've read them all. They're good. And Archie comic books I don't rate just because they're just kind of, they're there and they're fun. Okay, so the next one that I read was I finally finished the Mark of the Lion series by Francine Rivers. I read As Sure as the Dawn, and I have to tell you, it was my favorite in the series. I gave it 4.5 stars, which honestly, I did not think any of them were going to be rated that high. They were good, but they weren't really my cup of tea. But the third one, I really, 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 really liked. So in this one, we're following we see him a little bit in the first book and not so much in the second book. But in the third book, we're following Atreides, who we see in the first book. He's a German gladiator who pretty much became a slave in Rome and became a gladiator that way, and finally earned his freedom in the third book. And so we're following him as he's trying to get revenge on Rome and on the people who supposedly killed his son. So we're following him, and I really loved his story. I loved his redemption story. I thought it was great. I thought the faith content was great. And this one, honestly, I felt like was the most clean out of the 3 because I know Francine Rivers can get a little bit strong with her love scenes, and not overly, but she can get a little strong. But in this one, I just felt like it was perfect. Honestly, I really wish this was a standalone. I really liked it that much. But I did really like it. I loved the faith content in this. The way Atreides and his character just grew, and was just, yeah, it was great. And I also love the girl in it. I can't remember her name, and it's kind of funny because it doesn't mention her name in the actual book description. So let's go to somebody who mentions her name, because I cannot remember her name at all, which is kind of funny. Rizpah. Thank you to Naomi, who had a review. Rizpah was the other character. So Rizpah, we're following Rizpah, and she ends up in Atreides' house taking care of his son. And so we follow her. She's kind of being treated like a slave, even though she's not. She's just there because she pretty much adopted his son. We're following them kind of growing and changing, and seeing how Rizpah really changes Atreides and kind of just becomes a friend to him. And I really loved both their characters. So really great. I really enjoyed the third book. Okay, next up, I ended up finishing all of the books in the Tales from Ivy Hill series. I finished book 2, which was The Ladies of Ivy Cottage, as well as book 3, which was The Bride of Ivy Green. And I finished the Christmas novella, which I think is called something about an Ivy Hill Christmas. So I finished all of them. I gave The Ladies of Ivy Cottage, which was the second book, I ended up giving 3.5 stars. The Bride of Ivy Green, I gave 3 stars. And then the Christmas novella, I gave 3 stars. So overall, It's an okay series. I think the series I felt was more of one I should have read with my eyeballs than my ear lobes, because there are just so many characters in these books. I felt like as we went on in the series, like book 1, book 2, book 3, there was just more characters in each book than the previous one. It could have just been me thinking weird, but it felt like that. It was weird. So because there were so many characters, it took me a long time to get into the audiobooks. So I had a hard time trying to remember who was who, what was going on. I do like a lot of Julie Clausen's other books, but these ones were just kind of, they were good. I enjoyed the storyline, but I felt like it was just too many characters for my taste. Okay, and then I read He Should Have Told the Bees by Amanda Cox. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I did like it. There was just quite a few slow parts throughout, but I did really like it. I do have a full review for this that I did throughout the month, so I will link it down below. But I did like it. It was cute. We're following two characters, a beekeeper named Beckett and a girl named Callie, who's kind of a small business owner who makes soaps and lotions and stuff like that to pamper yourself. Well, both girls are kind of dealing with situations in their lives. Beckett just lost her father, so she's living on the beekeeping farm alone, and she also has, I forgot what it's called, but she's afraid to leave the house, so she stays at home, very rarely going out. And then we're following Callie. She kind of has abandonment issues with her mother. Her mother's dealing with alcoholism, but her mother kind of wants to try to go to rehab, but she doesn't know if she can trust her mom yet. So we're kind of dealing with both those women, and then they end up coming together because Beckett's father ends up putting both of their names on the deed to the farm. And so both girls have no idea. They have no idea who the other one is. They have no idea why their names are co-owners now of the bee farm. And so we're following both of their stories, and it was very, very sweet. My favorite character in the book was obviously the cute little girl in it. She's adorable. She ends up meeting Beckett in her backyard near the bees, and she calls herself an alien. Of course she's not, but she's just this cute, sweet girl who kind of needs a friend in her time of her life too, because she's going through some family problems as well. Now this is a more family drama type of woman literary fiction, but this was done well to where I enjoyed it, because I have recently found out I don't like family drama stories, but if they're done really well, I do like them, and I did like this one, so definitely check it out. So I read All the More by Toni Shiloh. I did do a book review on this one because it was short, and I was able to get it done for a book review. But I really enjoyed this one. This is actually part of a series called Something Borrowed. It is, found out it is interconnected, so some of the characters from this book might appear in other ones. This is book 2, so if you do like to read series in order, feel free to. I kind of figured I could probably read this as a standalone because it is done by different authors. So it's probably just the main character is a different character, and we're following different perspectives. So I'm okay going out of order with books kind of like this. If they do go in order, believe me, I do read my series in order. But I read this one, and this one was just so cute. I mean, we're following a girl named Layla. She is handicapped in a wheelchair, but she loves video games. She teaches, though, from her computer. We follow her and her relationship with a man named Reggie Moore, and they're both video game enthusiasts. He actually creates video games, so they end up meeting for the first time, and he doesn't know she's handicapped because she's in a regular dining chair. And so we're following their relationship. He wants more. She's really unsure if she wants more. I mean, she does, but because of her disability, she felt like she can't. So, and also the distance. So when he ends up getting a job where she is, they end up having a friendship and maybe more. So it was really cute. I really enjoyed it. It does, I'm pretty sure it takes place around Christmas time. Oh yeah. Yeah, it does. I just remember the ending. It takes place around Christmas time. So if you want a sweet Christmas romance, this is very cute and very short. And it is on Kindle Unlimited, as I'm sure most of the other series probably is as well. So check it out. And then I did a reading vlog, and I finished the entire Becky Wade series, the Misty River romance series. This is only my second book / series that I've read by Becky Wade. I've read, I forgot what it's called. My Stubborn Heart. That's what I read. And then I read these. and I really liked them. I thought they were really cute. So I ended up texting Becky Wade actually about book 1, which I think that was Stay With Me, I think, or Turn to Me. Oh, I can't remember which one was which. But I ended up texting her. Yeah, it's this one, Stay With Me. So this is the first book, and I ended up texting Becky Wade after I wrote this saying how much I enjoyed it, how much the main character really meant to me in this story, and what I've been through. And so she ended up sending me cute little book plates for my books. Oops, that's a thank you note. Thank you note from my friend that sent me the book, but she sent me cute little book plates to say, for Katie, love Becky Wade. So I put them all in the books, and now they're on my signed bookshelf, but I really like these. So this one we're following a girl who, she is a Bible study author, but she's really struggling with addiction. And then we're following a guy named, what's his name? Sam. And he's from Australia, I believe, which I do love a good Australian guy. That's for sure. Absolutely. So we're following them, and she ends up, for some reason, ends up on his couch in his kind of rental place, not at his actual place where he lives, but at his rental place, and he finds her. He's like, what are you doing here? I have no idea who you are. So she's there trying to visit her parents, but she struggles with her addictions, and she takes too many pills for her injury. And so he says she can stay there, but there are a lot of things that she has to stick with in order to stay there, because he really wants to help her kick the habit and help her with her addiction. And so I felt like Becky did an amazing job with the character of Genevieve. She told me that she had a few friends that helped her with that character. And I felt really like she really knew how this character was going to go through this addiction and how God helped her through it. And I really loved it. So this is probably my favorite in this series. I think maybe it wasn't. No, I ended up giving Stay With Me 5 stars. The second one, Let It Be Me, it was okay. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's probably my least favorite, only because I wasn't a fan of the relationship in this one. It wasn't that great. I didn't really enjoy the relationship in this one. In this one, we're following Leia, who she is a math prodigy who wants to earn her PhD, but she ends up having to take care of her little brother instead and getting a job at this local school where she meets Sebastian, who is a former foster kid. Now he is a surgeon. So we're following their relationship. She's kind of like, doesn't really want a relationship, but then she meets him. And so, yeah. But I really wasn't a fan of the couple in this story, so it wasn't my favorite. That's probably why I probably was closer to 3 stars, but I like the series as a whole. And then Turn to Me, which was the third book, I ended up giving 5 stars. I did really enjoy this one. I did actually say that in my review, I said this might be my favorite in the series, question mark. But just this book, the ex-con in it, I loved his character so much. And just we're following him and this girl who works for an animal shelter. And so my favorite parts in this book were about him and the puppy. They were so cute together. So she ends up getting him involved with the animal shelter because that's what her dad wanted. Her dad passed away. And so she has this mysterious letter from him saying there's a treasure hunt, but this guy needs to help you and protect you for some reason. There could be danger involved. So he is unfortunately stuck with helping her. Doesn't want to, but he's stuck with her. And so he ends up also getting stuck with the little puppy. And the little puppy and him, the scenes with them were just adorable and funny and sweet, and like, just if you could picture a big ex-con guy with a cute little puppy, it was just so cute. I loved it. So yeah, really cute. Okay, so I finished those as well. Pile is getting big. Okay, and then I read the second book in the Hope and Glory series by Elizabeth Camden. That was A Gilded Lady. I was hoping to finish the third book in time, but no, that did not happen. It's okay. I'm hoping it'll happen before the end of the year. That's just my hope, because I do want to finish a couple more series. But I did enjoy this one. It was pretty good. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I didn't connect with the characters as I did with the first one. The first one, I loved it. Second one, I didn't really connect with the characters. And this one, we're following the sister of the main male character in the first book. And so this one, I enjoyed the time period. Elizabeth Camden does a really great job with historical timelines and just the details that she has, but I don't know, I just wasn't connected with the characters so much, and I really wasn't a fan of the main female character. She was okay, but it wasn't that great. So I know Caroline, she's working kind of like as a secretary, I think, but she's trying to untangle a web of foreign espionage. So it's interesting, and it was okay, but it wasn't my favorite in this series, but I would like to continue the last book. And then we have probably one of my favorites of the month, and that was The Lost Boys of Barlow Theater by Jamie Jo Wright. She's done it again. She's done it again. I don't know how she writes 2 books a year. She's just incredible. The last 3 or 4 books that I've read have all been 4 and 5 stars. This one was 5 stars. In my top 3. In my top 3. I don't know what space it would go, but in my top 3. And I loved it. I loved it so much. I loved it so much. I'm actually going to be doing a radio review on this for a podcast next Friday. I'll try to share it on my channel. I am so nervous. Pray for me about that. But I'm going to be going and doing a podcast review on this book because I did love it so much, and they asked me to do a podcast review. I was like, okay. I don't think my voice is that great, but we're going to attempt it. The Lord will help me. We'll get through it. That'll be, I don't know when it's going to be posted, but I'm going next Friday to record it. So, yeah, that'll be exciting. Okay, anyways, so the Lost Boys of Barlow Theater. I actually wanted to share my review on this one on Goodreads, so I loved it. Actually, it was kind of funny. I shared my review on the Avid Christian Readers group on Facebook, and Tracy Peterson tagged Jamie because she thought my review was great as well. So, but I did a little bit of a blurb at the top, and it says, I put, "A can't put down, but shouldn't read at night, thrilling read from the Queen of Creepy Goodness." Yeah, because this one I should not have read at night. I mean, it was like 1 a.m. in the morning. I'm reading this, and I'm like, I really should wait till morning to read this. Not that, like, I love the Creepy Goodness. I love it. I think she does an amazing job. I think she's the queen of Christian creep, and it was great. I loved it. It's just, yeah, at night, especially certain parts, it's like, really? So I did end up getting past the point where I could finally go to sleep. And I was like, okay, I'll finish it in the morning. But yeah, so in this one, it's dual timeline, again, which we all love. Although, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of dual timeline, but Jamie usually does a really great job at it. So in this one, we're following a girl named Kit during this time. And her and her friend are trying to save this old theater from her friend's grandfather tearing it down. So her friend ends up hiring a ghost hunting show to kind of create some popularity for the theater. And something happens where her friend ends up disappearing, and Kit's wondering what's going on. And so we're following that mystery, along with back in the past, we're following Greta, she lives in the poorest neighborhood in the town, but she has friends who live in the upper side. And so she ends up being friends with them, and they go to the theater that's brand new, spanking new, and they end up going, dressing up, go to the theater, and something happens where Greta ends up seeing a baby being thrown from a balcony. But there's no baby. So people think she's crazy. Something's going on with the theater. They can't figure out what. And it's a creepy, fun, exciting, adventurous ride. And I really loved it. I love it. I love Jamie's work. I think she's great. So yeah, very fun. And I would highly recommend it if you like just that atmospheric, creepy read. It was just so good. By the way, everything I talked about has been Christian fiction so far, I think. Yes, that's right. Okay, next one that I read. I did read our Christian fiction book club pick for October. I was actually on time. And that was To Have and to Hold, which is 3 Autumn Love Stories by Betsy St. Amand, Katie Ganshert, and Becky Wade. And so I read it. It's one of those books where it was good when you read it, but you completely blank out after you read it and you have no idea what you just read. I'm sorry about that, but it's just one of those books that, like, it was cute, but I don't remember anything about it. they're sweet romances all set in the fall, which is a great time to read it right now. But they're just they are very Hallmark feeling. And I do like those books, but I can only take so many of them at once. I feel like 3 was just too many for me at one time. But it was cute. In the first book, we're following 2 characters who one owns a bakery and then the other one is trying to help with it's either his friend or something, with her wedding. And she thinks he's married because he's buying cookies for another girl. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that's the first one. Second one was where, let's see. The second one was talking about a girl who works in a florist shop. And so I don't know why, but I just really didn't enjoy that one that much. And then the last book I did enjoy more. This is a second chance romance by Becky Wade, and we're following Josh and Holly. They broke up years ago while he was in college, and then they meet up later on and they find out what happened. There's definitely that miscommunication trope, but I think she did pretty well with it. So yeah, so overall I gave it 3 stars. It was just okay. I didn't really rate each one individually. It probably would have been like maybe 4 stars, 3 stars, and like 3.5 stars or something. And then I've already talked about this one a lot. That is Pearl of the Sand by Tessa Afshar. I did a whole live show on this book because it was our buddy read for the Journey Through the Bible Readathon. Also, thank you to everyone who joined in, tagged me, and tagged the Readathon. You all did an amazing job, and I was so happy whenever I saw somebody post. So thank you to everyone who joined in and had fun with me. It was a lot of fun. So this was the buddy read. Everybody loved it, I'm pretty sure. If you didn't, let me know. It's okay if you didn't like it. But I tabbed this sucker up. The tabs match the cover, red and blue and cream and stuff. But I had a blast with this book. I loved tabbing. I didn't actually have a lot of annotations, which surprised me, but that's okay. I mean, I tagged a bunch of stuff I highlighted. But I just want to say it was a good book, and I gave it 5 stars. It started off as 4, ended up being a 5. So I did really like it. We're following Rahab. This is a biblical fiction kind of retelling, but we're still following the biblical timeline of Rahab and the spies when she helps them escape from Jericho while they're spying, and then they help her and her family when Jericho is being pretty much taken down, torn down, and gotten rid of. So we're following her before as she becomes a prostitute in the beginning, and then we're following her journey as she ends up escaping from Jericho with her family and integrating into the Israelites camp. And I just thought it was really great. I think Tessa Afshar did a great job at kind of explaining that history, explaining the laws of the Israelites and what they went through, what Rahab and her family had to do in order to integrate into the Israelite family. I just thought it was really great. And there is an explanation for this title that says Pearl in the Sand. You'll understand once you hit that part. That part it really was a pivotal point in this book. It's very near the end, but it's a beautiful symbolism story of God's love for us and how he cherishes us more than jewels. And it's a beautiful story. And I really, really love that part in the book. We're almost done? We are almost done. Okay, good. Okay, so I did end up getting to Where We Belong by Lynn Austen, my very first Lynn Austen. So I'm sure a lot of you are happy about that. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed the story a lot, and as the story went on, I got more involved in the story. But again, sometimes an audiobook doesn't work for me. This one didn't, because it skips around timelines so much and doesn't really connect until the very ending. So I just felt as a whole I was kind of disconnected, because we're following I think right in the beginning we're seeing 3 years in the future. Then we go back 40 years, or maybe not that long ago, maybe 20 to 30 years. But we have a lot of time jumping. Not sure if I'm a fan of that or not. I'm okay with it sometimes, but I think it's more of as I said, an eyeball read versus an earlobe read. So yeah, it was okay. I did enjoy the timeline, or the time era, and the way she described things. And I wish I really would have liked it more, because I love when characters travel. I love when they when God guides them to that career path of traveling and stuff. It's one of my favorite things. But I couldn't get past the time jumping back and forth. I wish I could have, but I do want to try more of her books in the future. Okay, we're on to the last 2 books. So I reread book 1 and then read book 2 of the Dragons in Our Mist series by Brian Davis. And I listened to these on audio. I do like the audiobooks. These are an almost full cast. There's got to be like at least 4 actors in it, I think. But I do really like these. So I gave book 1 4 stars and gave the second book 4 stars as well. So I did really like both. This is an interesting story where we're seeing these Knights of the Round Table during Merlin's and King Arthur's time. And we're seeing Merlin as a Christian. This is a middle grade Christian series, fantasy series. And we're following Merlin. There is back flashes of them in Merlin's time. We're following him and how he's interacting with the dragons and how dragons aren't really all that bad. But knights during our time and during back then felt like the dragons were really bad. But dragons end up getting gifted from God to be able to become humans. That way they can hide in plain sight pretty much. But they're still being hunted down. So during our time, we're seeing this kid grow up and all of a sudden he's starting to get these weird things. Like his teeth are all of a sudden getting sharp and he's got very, very hot breath. And you're trying to wonder, what's going on? So we discover that he's, half dragon, half human. What's going on? So it's kind of their adventures. There's other kids that are like him as well. So we're kind of seeing those characters get together and try to stop the bad guys. It's entertaining. It's pretty much, it's a low-key fantasy series. It's fun. It's entertaining. Nothing super great and out there. It's not going to be probably one of my favorite series or anything, but I did still really enjoy it as I was reading it. So I gave both of those 4 stars. I was hoping to continue the series, but it never happened, or finish it. But I am currently working my way through book 3 right now. So yeah, I did finish book 2 I think at 1 a.m. on November 1st. But I put it on Goodreads early so I could just count it towards this because it was close enough for me. So yeah, so those were all the books that I read. So wasn't a bad month. I mean, look at that stack. This isn't even all of them. But yeah, so those are the ones that I have physically. I thought they were going to fall. But yeah, so it was a great reading month. Definitely Pearl in the Sand and The Lost Boys of Barlow Theater were my favorite. 100%. Love those. So yeah, so it was a great reading month. Let me know what you read down in the comments. If you read anything fun, if you hated anything. Sure, why not? Let's talk about it. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you all in the next video.